I refused to invite my golden child brother to my wedding, so my parents threatened to cut me off. Then they tried to crash the wedding and got the biggest shock of their lives. Backstory time. I, 32F, have an older brother, let's call him Jake, 35M. Growing up, Jake was always the golden child. He was smart, charming, athletic, basically everything my parents ever wanted in a son. Me? I was the awkward, nerdy girl who preferred books to sports and struggled with social anxiety. My parents never outright neglected me, but the favoritism was painfully obvious. Jake got the newest gadgets, the best tutors, and was constantly showered with praise. I got hand-me-downs and was told to try harder when I couldn't match his achievements. This dynamic continued well into our adult years. Jake became a successful lawyer, married a model-esque wife, and had 2.5 perfect children, okay, 2 kids and a dog, but you get the picture. I pursued a career in marine biology, which my parents deemed impractical and a waste of my potential. Let me give you a few examples to illustrate just how bad the favoritism was. 1. When I was 16, I won a state-level science fair with a project on ocean acidification. My parents didn't even attend the awards ceremony because Jake had a football game that day. When I came home with my blue ribbon, Mom just said, "That's nice, dear," and went back to gushing about Jake's touchdown. 2. For my high school graduation, I got a $50 gift card to a bookstore. For Jake's graduation 2 years earlier, they bought him a car. 3. When I got accepted into my dream university with a partial scholarship, my dad's response was, "Well, I guess that's better than nothing. At least Jake's law school is fully paid for." 4. The Christmas after Jake passed the bar exam, my parents gifted him a down payment for a house. My gift that year? A blender. You get the picture. It was a constant stream of little, and not so little, reminders that Jake was the star and I was just there. Despite all this, I managed to build a life I'm proud of. I found my passion in studying coral reef ecosystems, met the love of my life, Alex, 34M, during a research expedition, and we've been happily together for 5 years. I should probably tell you a bit more about Alex, because he's honestly been my saving grace through all of this family drama. We met during a research trip to the Great Barrier Reef. I was collecting data on coral bleaching, and he was there as part of a documentary film crew. It was like something out of a cheesy romance novel. I literally stumbled and fell into a tide pool, and he fished me out. We spent the rest of the expedition talking about marine conservation, swapping stories about our most exciting dives, and falling head over heels for each other. Alex is everything my family isn't: supportive, kind, and genuinely interested in my work and passions. He's never once compared me to anyone else or suggested I should be doing something different with my life. Instead, he's been my biggest cheerleader, staying up late to proofread my research papers and surprising me with little gifts like rare marine biology books or a necklace with a coral pendant. When Alex proposed last year, I was over the moon. We started planning our dream wedding, a beautiful, intimate ceremony on the beach where we first met. We wanted everything to be perfect, from the sustainable, ocean-themed decorations to the locally sourced seafood for the reception. Now, here's where the drama begins. When it came time to make the guest list, I made the difficult decision not to invite Jake. It wasn't out of spite or revenge, I simply wanted my wedding day to be filled with people who genuinely supported and loved me. Jake and I were never close, and his presence would only remind me of years of feeling inadequate. The decision wasn't easy. I spent weeks agonizing over it, talking it through with Alex and my therapist. Yes, I started therapy a few years ago to work through my family issues. Best decision ever. In the end, I realized that having Jake there would cast a shadow over what should be the happiest day of my life. Every time I looked at him, I'd be reminded of all the times I wasn't good enough, all the achievements that went unnoticed because Jake had done something better. I braced myself for the fallout when I told my parents. Boy, was I unprepared for the shitstorm that followed. Mom, screeching, "How could you do this to your brother? He's family." Me, Mom, Jake and I barely speak. We're not close, and I want my wedding to be about celebrating with people who actually care about me. Dad, red-faced, "This is ridiculous. You're just being petty and jealous. Jake has always been there for you." Me, really? Name one time he's shown genuine interest in my life or career. They couldn't, of course. But that didn't stop them from laying on the guilt trip. Mom, if you don't invite Jake, we won't come either. Is that what you want? Me, trying to stay calm, "I'd love for you both to be there, but I understand if you choose not to come." Dad, pulling out the big guns, "If you go through with this, we'll cut you off completely. No more financial support, no inheritance, nothing. Now, here's the kicker, I haven't taken a dime from them since I graduated college. They seem to have conveniently forgotten that I've been financially independent for years. Their threat was as empty as their understanding of my life. Me, I'm sorry you feel that way, but my decision stands. Jake isn't invited, and that's final. I ended the call feeling drained but oddly liberated. Alex was incredibly supportive, reminding me that our wedding was about us, not appeasing others. We continued with our plans, adjusting the guest list and seating arrangements. The weeks leading up to the wedding were tense. My parents alternated between icy silence and explosive voicemails demanding I change my mind. I stopped answering their calls and focused on the final preparations. My amazing friends and Alex's family rallied around us, filling in the gaps left by my absent family. Here's a sample of the lovely voicemails I received. Mom, I can't believe you're tearing this family apart over your selfish desires. After all we've done for you. Dad, you're making a huge mistake. Jake is successful, he could help your career if you'd just let him. Jake, yes, he called too. Hey sis, heard you're having a tantrum about the wedding. Real mature. Maybe if you put this much effort into your life, you wouldn't be so jealous of mine. Charming, right? But for every nasty message from my family, I got a dozen supportive ones from friends and colleagues. My lab partner, Sarah, offered to help with last-minute preparations. My dive buddy, Mike, said he'd act as a buffer if my family tried to cause trouble. Even my old college roommate, who I hadn't seen in years, sent a care package full of my favorite snacks and a note saying how proud she was of me for standing my ground. The night before the wedding, I received a text from my cousin, one of the few family members I'm close to. Cousin, heads up, Aunt and Uncle are planning to bring Jake to the wedding anyway. They think you'll cave if they show up. I was furious but also weirdly calm. I'd anticipated something like this might happen. Thankfully, we'd prepared for such a scenario. You see, over the years, I'd started documenting my family's behavior. It started as a way to validate my own feelings, to prove to myself that I wasn't overreacting or imagining things. I kept a journal, saved emails and texts, and occasionally recorded particularly nasty conversations. With their knowledge, I always announced when I was recording for future reference. I never planned to use this evidence for anything. It was more of a coping mechanism, a way to remind myself that I wasn't crazy for feeling hurt by their actions. But when we realized my family might try to crash the wedding, Alex suggested we compile some of this evidence as a last resort. We spent a week going through years of accumulated proof of their mistreatment. It was emotionally exhausting, reliving all those painful moments. But it was also eye-opening. Seeing it all laid out like that, I realized just how toxic my family dynamic had been. It strengthened my resolve to stand my ground and have the wedding I deserved. Wedding day arrived, and it was absolutely perfect. The weather was gorgeous, the decorations were stunning, and I felt like a princess in my dress. As I stood with Alex at the altar, overlooking the ocean where we fell in love, I knew I'd made the right choice. Just as the ceremony was about to begin, I heard a commotion at the entrance to the beach. I turned to see my parents, red-faced and indignant, with a smug-looking Jake in tow. They were arguing with the security team we'd hired specifically for this purpose. Dad, shouting, "This is outrageous. We're her parents, you can't keep us out." Mom, dramatically, "My baby is getting married, I have a right to be here." Jake, condescendingly, "Come on, sis. You're really going to have security throw out your own family?" I took a deep breath, squeezed Alex's hand, and nodded to my maid of honor. She pressed a button on her phone, and suddenly, the large screen we'd set up for a photo slideshow came to life. What played was a montage of videos and voice recordings spanning years. There was Jake mocking my career choice at family dinners. My parents dismissing my accomplishments while praising Jake's minor achievements. Snippets of conversations where they belittled my relationship with Alex, claiming I could do better if I just put in some effort like Jake does. But it wasn't just the big moments. The video also captured the constant, low-level dismissal I'd endured for years. Mom sighing and saying, "I suppose that's fine," when I excitedly told her about a paper I'd gotten published. Dad laughing and telling his friends, "Well, at least one of my kids is doing something worthwhile," while Jake stood nearby preening. Jake jokingly introducing me at a family reunion as the one who plays with fish while I handle real legal cases. The beach fell silent as the video played. My parents and Jake stood frozen, their faces a mix of shock and growing horror as their own words were broadcasted for all to hear. The other guests watched with a combination of sympathy for me and disgust towards my family. As the video ended, I turned to address them directly, my voice steady and clear. For years, I've listened to you tear me down while building Jake up. I've endured countless comparisons, criticisms, and dismissals of my choices and accomplishments. Today is about celebrating love and surrounding ourselves with people who genuinely care about us. You've made it abundantly clear that you don't fall into that category. So no, you don't have a right to be here. This is my day, my choice, and I choose not to have you in it. Please leave. The security team, taking their cue, began to escort my stunned family members away. Jake's smug expression had vanished, replaced by a look of genuine shock, probably the first time he'd been confronted with the reality of how he'd treated me all these years. As they were led off the beach, I heard my mother's wail, "How could you humiliate us like this?" I didn't bother responding. Instead, I turned back to Alex, whose eyes shone with pride and love. The officiant, after a moment to regain composure, continued with the ceremony. The rest of the wedding was an absolute dream. Free from the shadow of family drama, Alex and I danced, laughed, and celebrated with the people who truly mattered to us. My friends and colleagues, who had witnessed much of the family dysfunction over the years, were especially supportive. Some highlights from the reception. Sarah, my lab partner, gave a toast that had me in tears, the good kind. She talked about late nights in the lab, shared discoveries, and how my passion for marine life inspired everyone around me. Mike, my dive buddy, surprised us with a slideshow of underwater photos he'd taken of us during various research dives. Seeing our relationship literally grow beneath the waves was incredibly moving. Alex's family, who had welcomed me with open arms from day one, presented us with a handmade quilt. Each square represented a moment in our relationship, including several nods to my research work. My old college roommate caught the bouquet and immediately declared she was using it as motivation to finally ask out her crush. Update, they're now dating. During the reception, my boss, a mentor I greatly admire, pulled me aside. "Boss, I hope you know how proud we all are of you. Not just for your work, which is exceptional, but for standing up for yourself today. You're an incredible person, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I'll admit, I teared up a bit at that. The aftermath? Well, it's been a few months now. My parents and Jake haven't spoken to me since the wedding, which honestly feels like a weight lifted. I've been going to therapy to work through years of family-induced anxiety and self-doubt. Alex has been my rock through it all, reminding me daily of my worth and how much I'm loved. Surprisingly, a few extended family members reached out after the wedding. They'd had no idea how bad things were and expressed their support. It's been nice rebuilding some of those relationships on my own terms. As for my career, I recently got approved for a major research grant to study the impact of climate change on endangered coral species. It's the kind of project I've dreamed of leading for years. When I shared the news with Alex, he surprised me with a scrapbook he'd been making, filled with news clippings of my published research, photos from expeditions, and little notes of encouragement he'd written over the years. It was his way of showing me he'd always seen my value, even when my family didn't. But life isn't all smooth sailing, pun intended for us marine biologists. About a month after the wedding, I ran into Jake at a coffee shop. I tried to leave quickly, but he caught up to me outside. "Jake, hey, sis. Can we talk?" Me, "I don't think we have anything to say to each other." "Jake, please, just give me 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We sat on a nearby bench, and to my surprise, Jake actually apologized. He admitted that seeing the video at the wedding had been a wake-up call. He'd never realized how his actions and words had affected me over the years. "Jake, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and I'm trying to be better." It was surreal, hearing my perfect brother admit fault. We talked for over an hour, really talked, for the first time in years. He asked about my work, my life with Alex, and actually listened to my answers. I'm not saying this magically fixed our relationship. There's too much history there for that. But it was a start. We've had a few more conversations since then, each one a little less awkward than the last. My parents, on the other hand, are still radio silent. Part of me hopes they'll come around like Jake did, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm learning to be okay with that, to find family in the people who choose to support and love me for who I am. Looking back, I don't regret my decision one bit. Yes, it was dramatic. Yes, it caused a scene. But after years of being the family doormat, it felt incredible to finally stand up for myself. My wedding day wasn't just about marrying the love of my life, though that was pretty amazing. It was about choosing my own happiness and worth over toxic family obligations. To anyone out there struggling with similar family dynamics, know that it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to prioritize your own well-being. And it's definitely okay to have the wedding of your dreams, surrounded by people who truly celebrate you. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thank you all for the supportive comments and awards. To address a few common questions. 1. Yes, we had permission to film those family interactions. Most were from events at my home where there's no expectation of privacy. For phone calls, my state has one-party consent laws for recordings. 2. The decision to play the video wasn't made lightly. We had it as a backup plan if they tried to crash the wedding, which they did. I wanted them to understand exactly why they weren't welcome. 3. To those asking about legal repercussions, we consulted with a lawyer friend beforehand to make sure we were within our rights. The security team was professional and didn't use excessive force, just escorted them off the private beach we'd rented for the event. 4. For those concerned about the other guests, most knew the backstory and were supportive. We quickly redirected focus to the ceremony and celebration after my family left. 5. Thank you for all the kind words about my career. Marine biology isn't always glamorous, but I truly love what I do. For those asking, I'm not comfortable sharing specific research details to maintain anonymity, but I'm always happy to discuss ocean conservation in general. 6. Finally, to those sharing their own stories of family estrangement and healing, thank you. It's comforting to know I'm not alone in this journey. Sending strength to all of you. Edit 2. Since so many people are asking for an update, here's what's happened in the months since the wedding. 1. Work life. Remember that research grant I mentioned? Well, it's been going amazingly well. We've made some significant discoveries about how certain coral species are adapting to rising ocean temperatures. It's not all good news, but it's giving us valuable insights into potential conservation strategies. I've been invited to present our findings at a major international conference next month, something I never thought I'd achieve this early in my career. 2. Personal life. Alex and I are settling into married life beautifully. We recently adopted a rescue dog, a goofy Labrador mix we named Darwin. He's already accompanying us on beach walks and is fascinated by our home aquarium. We're also talking about starting a family soon, which is both exciting and terrifying. 3. Family dynamics. This is the complicated part. As I mentioned, Jake and I have been slowly rebuilding our relationship. It's not perfect, but it's progress. He's made an effort to learn about my work and has even attended a public lecture I gave at the local aquarium. My parents, however, are a different story. About 2 months after the wedding, they showed up unannounced at our apartment. It didn't go well. Mom, teary-eyed, we've come to forgive you for your behavior at the wedding. Me, stunned, forgive me? I think you've misunderstood the situation. Dad, sternly, now, don't start with that attitude. We're here to mend fences. You just need to apologize for embarrassing the family, and we can put this all behind us. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They still didn't get it. I took a deep breath and channeled all the strength I'd built up over the past few months. Me, I'm not apologizing. I'm not the one who needs to apologize. If you've come here expecting me to back down and play the role of the dutiful, submissive daughter, you're going to be disappointed. I meant what I said at the wedding. If you can't respect me, my choices, and my accomplishments, then you don't get to be part of my life. They left in a huff, and I haven't heard from them since. It was hard, I won't lie. Part of me still yearns for their approval, for a normal parent-child relationship. But I'm learning to fill that void with the love and support of the family I've chosen, Alex, our friends, my colleagues, and the extended family members who've stood by me. 4. Unexpected connections. One surprising outcome of this whole ordeal has been the number of people who've reached out to share similar experiences. A cousin I was never close with confided that she's always felt sidelined in favor of her sister. An old college friend admitted he's been struggling with setting boundaries with his overbearing parents. It's created this unexpected support network, and we're all helping each other navigate these complicated family dynamics. 5. Personal growth. All of this, the wedding drama, the career success, the ongoing family situation, has pushed me to continue working on myself. I'm still in therapy, learning to undo years of internalized self-doubt. I've started practicing mindfulness and have even taken up painting as a way to express emotions I sometimes struggle to verbalize. It's a journey, but I'm proud of how far I've come. 6. The video. A lot of people have asked what happened to the wedding video. Honestly, we've locked it away. As cathartic as it was to finally confront my family with their behavior, I don't want to dwell on it. We kept it as a reminder and potential protection if needed, but our focus is on building our future, not reliving past hurts. 7. Moving forward, Alex and I are planning a belated honeymoon for next year, a diving trip to the Galapagos Islands. It's been a dream of mine since I was a kid, and it feels like the perfect way to celebrate this new chapter in our lives. To everyone who's followed this story and shared their own experiences, thank you. Your support has meant more than you know. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who support you, celebrate your successes, and stand by you through the tough times. For anyone out there still struggling with family issues, toxic relationships, or self-doubt, please know that it gets better. It's not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight, but you have the power to shape your own life and surround yourself with people who truly value you. Don't be afraid to seek help, set boundaries, and prioritize your own well-being. You deserve happiness and respect. Edit 3. Wow, I'm overwhelmed by the response to this post. I never expected it to resonate with so many people. I've received hundreds of messages, and I'm trying to respond to as many as I can. Your stories, your support, and your insights are incredibly touching. A few more points based on common questions. 1. Yes, Alex knew about my family issues before we got married. We had many long conversations about it, and he's been incredibly supportive throughout. He's never pushed me to reconcile if I wasn't comfortable with it. 2. No, we didn't invite Jake's wife and kids to the wedding. They've always been an extension of Jake's attitude towards me, and I didn't want that energy at our celebration. 3. For those asking about my research, I can share a bit more without compromising anonymity. We're studying how certain species of coral in the Pacific are showing resilience to bleaching events. It's giving us hope for potential restoration projects in other areas affected by climate change. 4. To the fellow scientists who've reached out, thank you for the collaboration offers. I'm excited to potentially work with some of you in the future. 5. For those struggling with similar family issues, many of you have asked about resources. I've compiled a list of books, websites, and support groups that have helped me. I'll add it to the post shortly. 6. And finally, to the person who asked, yes, Darwin the dog is named after Charles Darwin. Good catch. Thank you all again for your support and for sharing your own stories. It's been incredibly healing to connect with so many people who understand this journey. Remember, you're not alone, and it's never too late to stand up for yourself and create the life you deserve.